I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public comment. Anyone have anything for public comment?
Everyone's on vacation.
Can I just mention the blood drive? Blood drive in town next Thursday, 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock over at the fire station. And I literally just got an email from the coordinator of Red Cross today that they're hoping everything goes. We have a lot of people set up. We have a few more spots because people are canceling their blood drives because they haven't been able to get people to sign up. We have about 9 more slots. So if you can, please register. If you know somebody that can, we greatly appreciate it.
Great.
Red Cross greatly appreciates.
And you can sign up at redcrossblood.org.
You just have to select Killingworth and July 7th.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right up, yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, moving on. Approval of minutes. I move to approve the minutes of the Monday, June 13th, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
I second.
Any discussion?
Thought they were well written.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Refunds and abatements. It was good to see Betty, by the way. Refunds and abatements. I move to approve the following refund and abatements to Toyota Lease and Trust in the amount of $261.45 and allow them to follow their normal course. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Appointments. All of the appointments for the Economic Recovery Committee are set to expire June 30th. So I move to extend the date of conclusion to the Economic Recovery Committee. The terms of the following individuals will be extended to December 31st, 2022. Richard A. Bauer, Carrie Lynn Emberson, James Joseph Duffield, Lucinda H. Hogarty, Douglas B. Lufko, Sarah Jane O'Brien, John Mancini, Danilo A. Calonia, and Gwen Selmer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I thought that these went through December.
No, we actually looked.
Oh,
It was-
really?
It was quite the, oh, look at this.
Okay.
So,
All right.
considering we just, voted on Dan and Gwen.
Yep.
So, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to department reports. I think I provided an executive summary of, let's see, what is that one? 7A, thank you. So what I tried to do here for the open reports, showing the difference between 13 June and 22 June, you'll see that in 2022 now, in the last week, we've picked up 22 new permits. We've closed out for 2021, we've closed out, if you look at the math, we've closed out 17. You can see the fluidity in these reports. Still looking for the right.
So if I understand this correctly, this bottom, these are open permits?
From 2013, yes, but if you notice, Robin's been actively working on them. For 2013, there were 3, now there's 2. So she's going back through her old paperwork and trying to chip away at what's in there for building permits. It's not that these permits are open, it's just a matter of going back through the paperwork and making sure that they get closed out. But this was the best way I could find, and I think I sent it to you, Richard, as well. I'm still looking for the best way to categorize the open building permits, but
What, I mean, it probably runs the whole gamut of things, but what needs to be done to get these things addressed?
All right. Some of them go back, I think I said in the last meeting, you can go back, the state automatically closes them out in 9 years, that's what we've been told. It is the ultimate responsibility of the homeowner to set up a schedule to close out a permit. Most of them don't even know they have to close one out, or that the contractor never closed one out. There's no financial gain to the town to close them out. It's just time spent chasing them down to close them out. When it comes to fruition is when they go to sell a property, because the attorneys are using new software now. They find all the open permits, and of course, you know, they're sitting around the closing table trying to close these things out. I started looking at some of them, especially the swimming pools. The one that really struck me the most was the swimming pool across from the elementary school. That wasn't closed out, that has a number of issues that need to be addressed, especially because of their location. So I think Robin sent them a letter. Robin ran their report today, just on the last month. 38 permits were done in the last month. I won't get into the revenues because it doesn't really matter right now. But just on the current permits that came in, I tried to assign hours to what I thought each job takes. And that translates into a little over 17 hours a week, just keeping up with what we have. I went and looked at some stuff last week and the week before, and Robin would make a slip out and I could cancel out 2 or 3 open permits on one property. I have to talk to Robin and see if there's a way we can notify these people they have open permits and let them schedule it with us. Because I'm showing up at people's properties and it's like, who are you, what are you doing here?
I mean, I think that's a great idea. Honestly, if we could reach out to these open permits, send them an email, or send them a letter indicating they have open permits. This summary was better than the 38 pages that got plunked down.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to do is focus in on the ones that are the most important and figure out how to get them closed out.
And some of those open permits are jobs that are still going on.
Correct.
And some of them could be 2 years old still going on.
Right.
2018, 152 open permits.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
But if you notice,
And a lot of them,
151, 2019.
windows,
Right.
doors, roofs, these roofing companies, these window people, they don't ever call up for finals. Again, they catch up with it when they go to sell the house and all of a sudden there's an open permit.
but you see in 2018, there was 153 on June 13th, and there's 152 on the 22nd of June. So it's not as if Robin isn't trying to close some of these out.
At that pace,
We'll never get them
We'll never get
closed.
it done.
But,
You can only close them out when there's a final inspection.
correct. But this is how I've decided
I-
to summarize it.
I think this is fine. I think this is a good, it's a good measuring stick for us to routinely, just review. I do agree, the letter to me would be the most appropriate action to take,
Yeah.
is to send a letter to the homeowners and let them know that, their property's encumbered because they've got open building permits that need to be
Closed out.
closed out.
Yeah.
And
And it's
then-
in their best interest to close it out.
Well, sure it is, sure it is.
So I think that's the next step. Robin's on vacation, by the way, starting Thursday until after the 4th of July holiday. We're looking to see if Donna Dupuy can come in and do some help in that area. But nonetheless, we'll keep an eye on this particular report. I'll continue to present every time we meet.
Okay.
Okay. We went through the appointees. We're doing okay. All right, Gina, anything for projected over-unders? Any budget report from you? Yes.
What's the question?
Any, on the budget report, projected over-unders remain?
No bad news at this point. It's still just looking at, probably having to go to town meeting on the snow budget and town council. But that's not any different than what I reported a couple weeks ago.
Okay. All right, moving on to new business. the National Opioid Summary, or National Opioid Settlement. I sent you an executive summary. The town was allocated $4,208.76. Payments will continue over 18 years, but there's strings. The settlements allow for a broad range of approved abatement uses by state and local governments. This is developed in consultation with the nation's leading public health experts. The list of pre-approved uses includes a wide range of intervention, treatment, education, and recovery services so that state and local governments can decide what will best serve their communities. It is anticipated that entire communities will benefit from the effects of the opioid remediation efforts funded by these settlements and the injunctive relief the settlements provide. At this point, we have a youth and family services that's in turmoil. I'm not ready to expend these funds just yet. We could use some of these funds for the purchase of Narcan. So that's something that we can determine, but I want to see what the course is of correcting youth and family services first.
I think it's wise.
All right, old business, if you want to pull up 10A. So 10A, as discussed at our last meeting, asphalt in particular continues to escalate. You're gonna find some new quotes for right now, sectional overlay. We were approved for $349,450. June 1, our estimate was, oh, sorry, Walt, you're here. You
Yeah.
speak to this.
All right.
I'm just reading off numbers.
I was just sitting back, just listening, that's all. Anyhow, well, we have, of course, our budget for this coming July is broken in a couple different categories. One are overlays, the other are mill and fill, and then, of course, chip seal. So on the paper, you'll find the first group, Chestnut Hill Road, Ironworks, Reservoir, and River, all for sectional overlays, and then basically the budgeted price a year ago of $349,450. I got a updated quote June 1st, and it went from $349 to $407, $891, and currently right now it's $415, $276. Depending on what our course of action is going forward, if we were to go to a town meeting or whatever, this fall would be $432,508, which is reflected on that sheet that you have there. So that's a substantial increase over that, and depending on what type of action either Board of Selectmen and or / Board of Finance wants to take on that. The mill and fill basically are two roads, Bunker Hill and Victoria. We're not that far off. We're basically, as of June 1st, we're 147 from a budget of 137. And then right now, currently, that is 149,859. That currently, right now, it's a $12.50 escalation above base price. It continues to go up. These are one of the highest. I think in the past, the most expensive escalation was $10 a few years ago when we had an oil issue on that. So those are the figures where we stand right now. Tilcon, I put on hold until we figure out a course of action, how we want to handle it. And because they were due to start coming in shortly after the 1st of July. And so that's where that is until we figure out what the best approach is on the Tilcon. As far as the chip sealing, we are in good shape. Apparently there was a little bit of mix up. I went back and when we were going through the drafts, and then what was voted on a town meeting, there was 3 roads that were included in the quote, of the chip seal, which was, Titus Cohen, Rosemary, and Jennifer. It was only about 17,000, it wasn't a lot of money, there. But anyhow, including them, including those roads that were actually scheduled for next year, that we have in this year's, quote, we're 407, 159. So if we back out North Chestnut Hill, because that's still up in the air where we're gonna go with North Chestnut, it comes to 412. So we're under budget right now for what the monies we have. They are delivering, stone. They just started delivering chip stone today. So we're gonna be we're looking at, probably the third week of July to, start chip sealing the roads.
Yeah, so North Chestnut Hill was backed out because that's a scenic road until I get a determination how to move forward with determining if the residents with the right amount of frontage want that to be chip sealed. That backed out, so that's where we went from 552, you knock out the 140.
Yeah, it comes to 412 or something, the math.
But even if you back all of that out, plus the escalation, we're down 407.
Yeah.
At this point, I would move to authorize me to go to the BOF to request additional capital funds or to review this, because obviously we're gonna have to get to a point where some of this is gonna have to go to town meeting. So I move to authorize First Selectman Gorski to go to the BOF to request additional capital funds of approximately $70,000 for the anticipated shortfall in capital road project funding fiscal year 22-23.
I'll second.
And in this discussion, when I go to the Board of Finance, we can talk about what to do with chip seal. Because at this point, we may be able to use some of the money from chip seal to pay the capital. So we'll work through that process.
I have a question. I thought I heard you say that you stopped Tilcon.
Well, basically, I moved it forward in the scheduling. I wanted to stay on the scheduling because this was supposed to be start as of July 1. Right now, I'm looking at the end of July, tentatively, depending on what action.
But why? I mean, if we have 4 roads that need to be milled and overlaid,
Yeah.
and we've got a financial bust, which I guess.
Right.
I get, why wouldn't we continue with 3 of them and allow this to play out?
I can do that.
Otherwise, we're losing our season for doing the work we
Right,
need to
yeah,
do.
because we
And we're
really,
losing our shirt because the longer we wait.
Exactly.
right. Oh, no, I totally agree. I wanted to bring this up to figure out where we go from here. I just didn't want to take it arbitrarily to start
I think
doing.
we should, I mean,
Okay,
we
no.
can't overspend the budget, but I
Right.
think we should select the ones that we can.
Long as we were within the approved budget. And
Yeah, I
then,
think-
in the meantime, we'll work on the balance of what the shortfall is.
Well, as an
And how we're
example,
gonna.
yeah, Reservoir is the most expensive at sectional overlay at 116,500. Get them started, because the sooner we get them started at the lowest
Yeah.
rate, the better we are.
Right.
Now, the mill and fill, of course, once they move in the miller to start milling, they'll do both roads at the same time. We got a shortfall currently of about 11,000. I mean, so I'll just continue, hopefully we can get everything solved. I
But
know
that-
we can,
Yeah,
I think we can expedite the
Okay.
administration of this,
Right.
but I wouldn't lose the time.
no, I totally agree, that's why I brought it up, to figure out, because I told them, that, to put us, I didn't say take us off the schedule, because we had a slot, and I told them I kept moving it up a little bit. Right now, currently, we're at the end of July, which isn't the end of the world, we'll still have plenty of time. But, that's why I wanted to come to you guys, figure out what the thing is. While we're here, let me just continue down. Green Hill Road, the drainage, the inlet repair. that we had damage. Good news, Storm Ida for Middlesex County, we got the clearance that we can get FEMA funding. That happened during FEMA, Storm Ida. So, there's a good chance that we're gonna get a chunk of that money back. So that's the good news
Okay.
on that. Beckwith, I talked to our engineer. They're gonna be start doing the survey on Beckwith Road for the drainage on that. That's gonna be happening within next week. And I got a appointment with Tom Fenton to go over the infrastructure, what we gotta put in. And last but not least.
Oh, one last question on Beckwith. I got
Yeah.
a call from a citizen who's concerned, they're not planning on widening Beckwith.
It's gonna be in the same footprint.
Because
What
I
we're-
thought it had to be in the same footprint.
It
yeah.
does.
Right,
Yes.
what we're doing is there's a couple low spots, of course, you know, you're familiar, and Lou, you're familiar with Beckwith, cause there's that big hill, basically on the left-hand side, headed south, all the water comes down the hill. And of course, with the new construction going on, which amplifies the amount of runoff that's coming down onto that road. So what, basically, there's some spots that the road has to be raised, not extending the, as far as the width of the road, just elevating the grade, the elevation, and also putting under drain and a couple cross culverts, updating the cross culverts. So that's what that is, to be able to handle the water there, so, and get rid of the soft spots, because we have ground percolation, from the underground water there, and that's what the drainage, under drains along the edge of the road, gonna
Yeah.
take care of, tied into our current infrastructure, the cross culverts and everything else.
Yeah, so Mr. Breck had
So,
called me about that,
but,
and he's very concerned to make sure that it remains the scenic road that it is.
Yeah, no, it's, we've gone a couple different times over the years, we've gone through discussion on that, especially even when they went to Chatfield Ridge, when they put that in. Cause we had the developer, was actually gonna upgrade the road, going into that, he was willing to do that, but, at the time, the residents said, no, you don't want it touched. So it's, so anyhow. So that's ongoing. Library, of course, library is, talking about putting lighting in. That paving, job will probably go into next spring, because I don't see them getting, the underground light, they have to dig trenches to put all the lighting in. And as of now, I don't know of any plan that they got a contractor yet to do the lighting. So we'll
You
probably.
talked to Dick Otto.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that later in the meeting,
Oh,
but,
okay.
but it may be possible that we can do the paving without, the lighting being done.
Yeah, okay.
There's some field survey work that needs to be done, but the short version is that there may be sufficient conduits already in place,
Yeah.
that any of the trenching is being done outside of the paved
Well,
areas.
I don't wanna pave it and then have them
Sure.
dig it up.
Sure.
And, basically, we were looking at a full reclaim, basically grinding right down the dirt and then regrading it. We took another look at it. The library, we're going to mill and fill, just like the other roads, Bunker Hill and, Victoria. So what we do is when you mill and fill, what you do is you take basically 1.5 inches, half of the 3-inch, which is the standard overlay that you put down. So you take 1.5 inches, grind it down, and then what the issue is over there, we want the parking lot to basically slope to all the drainage structures and off the road. So we can accomplish that, which basically is a lot cheaper than a full reclaim, grinding it down, removing all the material and starting over from scratch. So that, we have 60,000, which was okay when this was done for a reclaim, but right now it's 77,000. So it's already 17,000 to reclaim. But to mill and fill, we're at, if you look at the last line, it's only 43. So it's a savings, so we're gonna be going with the mill and fill. So,
Alright.
but that's it, if anybody's got,
What, did we have the motion
We
and
have a
that was
motion and a
discussion?
second.
Okay,
uh,
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next is an ARPA funds draft policy. Keep in mind, this is draft. You haven't seen it, I have no intention of voting on it tonight. What Gina had said to me is, we've been going back and forth and fashioning this off of what CCM Toolkit has put together. So there's part of that that's in here. You know, and some of the things that are in here, we probably should have done this a little bit sooner, but now that we've got funding in place, or projects in place, now we have to work through the paces. So I would like to propose that at our July 11th meeting, we walk through this
Okay.
and make changes. So we'll certainly make sure Jamie's aware of this. This particular policy also includes Town of Killingworth ARPA documentation, and that's primarily for Gina for her reporting purposes, so
Okay.
that's where we're at. So, nothing to move on for today. We're gonna move on to Fair Rent Commission. I know we're ready to talk about that. I move to authorize First Selectman Gorski to work with Town Council to draft a Fair Rent Commission ordinance similar to those in place in Clinton and Westbrook, and so that I can at least start getting that piece in motion. And then we can work on the secondary pieces, which is putting the commission in place and figuring out the process. But Dave's backed up as it is. He's got a couple of things that I've asked him to work on. For example, I wanted him to give me some feedback on these, the roads, the scenic roads, just to make sure if there's any opposition to folks wanting to have it chip sealed versus not wanting to have it chip sealed. He has not been able to respond to me. I wanted to get this in front of him so he has something to come back to us on.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
I'm vaguely familiar with both of those, but do you recall the makeup of the fair housing commissions? I don't know if they're commissions or committees.
There are commissions, 3 to 5 individuals. It's a combination of not only landlords, but renters, but I'd like to have some legal, some folks who have legal counsel as a background.
Okay.
And let's get started with that. Maybe Dave can give us some input, but certainly I've been reaching out to Clinton, I've been reaching out to Westbrook. They can help us with how they put that together as well. All right, bid award, we have 2 for sports turf management. I move, I don't know which order these are in. I move to award Langer Contractors LLC the sports turf maintenance services for Irene Sheldon Memorial Park, Rocco Reel Memorial Field, and Bethke Field for the base bid fiscal year 22-23 of $14,880 and fiscal year 23-24 for the base bid of $15,880.
Second.
Discussion.
Are those contracts through Park and Rec?
These are, yes, these came back, this is what they wanted to.
And they recommended
They
that.
recommended these. Now, these are base bids, there's à la carte things that they could elect to do.
Yeah.
But we're just going to, at this point, do the base bidding.
I would suggest we amend the motion that references that based on the recommendation of
Sure.
Park and Rec.
Do I have a second? Was there a second, or is that?
Yeah, right, the motion, you just amended it, so. You want to second the
Amendment?
amendment? Yeah.
Do I second
You
my
moved
own
to- you
amendment?
moved to amend
I
it,
moved
you
to amend
second
it, so
that.
you
I
second.
yeah.
Okay, I'll second the amendment. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's get this right this time.
So do we wanna make a motion to add the,
Let me get through this
Oh,
one
I'm
and then I
sorry.
will yell. I move to award Drainscapes LLC, based on a recommendation from Park and Rec, the sports turf maintenance services for our Killingworth Recreational Park for the base bid fiscal year 22-23 of $23,430 and fiscal year 23-24 of $24,133.
second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like a motion to open up the proposal from McMahon Associates for the DPW consulting services.
You wanna move to add, open it to the
Oh.
agenda?
To add to the agenda.
And she-
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Wanna open?
No, you can. Then there's no vote. Okay.
Today's the 27th. This is the only bid we received.
Put a number in there.
That's a lot of stuff.
It should be a couple sites.
All right. McMahon will perform the work outlined above for a lump sum fee of $40,000. I think we had budgeted 20,000 for this. Just for those in the room, data collection and evaluation, historical fiscal budgets and town demographics, vendor contracts, existing agreements and historic expenses, contracting procedures, needs assessments and studies, DPW and Town of Killingworth organizational structure, DPW employee time, including overtime and scheduled time off, DPW and Town of Killingworth documented policies and procedures, available technological resources, existing equipment and condition assessment, existing building infrastructure and condition assessment, existing roadways and utilities and condition assessment, accounting and accountability systems, current initiatives, and future plans. So that was all included in this.
May I take a copy?
You certainly may. There's plenty of them to be had.
Thank you.
You'll take that. So we open that. No motions after that. All right. Selectmen's comments.
Yeah, moving right along, Nancy. I have two comments. One I had mentioned to you a couple of meetings back. I'm still working on it, but I'm working on an RFP for custodial services for the town, which we certainly need to up our game there. I haven't forgotten it, just working on it. The other is I have a small report to present tonight, representing the Board of Selectmen to the library project. So this is about their project to put lighting in. And I submitted a draft municipal improvement package. You may have to sign the documents. I signed them, but then when I went back and looked at the checklist for municipal improvements, it does call for the first select person, so
This is all coming out of their Neighborhood Assistant Act funds, is that correct?
I'm not sure where it's coming from.
That was the monies that I thought they had available for them.
So let me quickly explain to you in pretty simple. The library.
Okay.
All right, and so these three lights exist. They're adding a new light here, and they're adding two new lights over here. These lights already have the conduits in place, and so this is what I was mentioning to Walt earlier, that if they trench from here to there, they don't
don't-
interrupt
right.
this. The other is that there's a spare pole riser, here, this pole's gonna come out, but,
Which may not have to connect there.
so if they can get from here to there, then they trench here to here, and again, there's no,
Okay.
no effect on the parking
And this
at
is
all.
new. I always remembered this being a dark spot, but if they
This one-
put this
this is
light,
new.
yeah,
Yep.
okay.
And then this Eversource pole goes away.
And this is where the drainage, I also remember drainage issues.
Right, there's a structure, in, towards the front of,
Yep.
of 81 that we put in because there was always a puddle there.
Yep.
We ended up doing that and tying it in.
Trust me, I've stepped in that puddle several times.
And this
There's no
is-
puddle there now.
This is the style of light that's going in.
Okay.
LED, this, and I
Okay.
provided the spec sheets for the building department. And that's the extent of it.
Looks good. If
What's
they can
the-
get rid of the poison
what's the
ivy
height?
back there, that'd be great.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Cause zoning captured 12 feet.
I don't think, they may be 12 foot.
Yeah.
They may be.
Thanks, Lynn. Anything
All
else?
right. Do we need to formally approve this as a municipal improvement?
I think we do. It's hard to say. I gotta,
I don't think it could hurt us if we did that.
but let's, do we need to do it now?
I'd
It has
like
to, no, it'd
because-
have to be added as an agenda item, and so we'd have to do that. We're in Selectmen's comments. Are we okay to add an agenda?
I would add it as an agenda item. Yeah, vote if you wanna vote on it.
Can we add it now?
Sure.
So I'll make a motion that we add the municipal improvement for the library lighting to the agenda.
And do you move to, do you have a number on this?
First, we gotta get it onto the agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry, all those in favor say aye.
Yes,
Aye.
And you seconded that.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, now it's on the agenda.
So I would like to make a motion that we approve the municipal improvement application of the Killingworth Library to replace 3 light poles and add 3 additional light poles in accordance with the municipal improvement application that was submitted to the building and zoning department today.
I'll second discussion. Do we know what the total amount is?
I do not.
I almost think we should table it until we have a number to make sure it's within the Neighborhood Assistant Act.
But remember, what we're approving is the application.
Okay,
And then I think if we can get an approved application, then we can get an approved project, so that can then go through the bidding process, they can get their required approvals in place, and then we can come back for approval of the monies.
I'm okay with the application, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now, just further discussion for everybody here, they do have Neighborhood Assistant Act funds to manage this. I think the key for me is making sure that it stays within the Neighborhood Assistant, in that budget. All right, thanks, Lou. I know you spend a lot of time with Dick on that, and a lot of these maintenance activities. All right, first Selectmen comments, the personnel manual. We haven't looked at that since January, so if it's okay with you and Jamie, I was going to plan to update the document with track changes on, and then send to you for additional edits. It seems to me that it's very arduous to go through that document in a special meeting, making changes on the fly. Once I've done those changes, I was gonna say that I'd send them to you, we'd review all of them amongst the 3 of us, and then send to our labor attorney for his review.
We may be saying the same thing, so I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but I think what I'd like to see is a current issue of the track changes document as it sits now,
I can do that.
all right? I also have another thought, and you know, I don't know whether we can talk about this now, under comments, but there's a part in there that has to do with the sunsetted, that's the right word, vesting in the retirement plan. Correct? And it seems to me that, I'm thinking about this a lot, it's an old plan, there's a limited number of people that are affected by that. And I think that what we should do is, rather than mess with the employee's handbook, that we should deal with those 3 individuals, and I personally think that we should issue 3 memorandums of understanding and grandfather them as we speak right now. And the reason I think that's, I mean, 2 of them, I think there's only 3 that are affected, maybe there's 4, but 2 of them, they're very, very close to making that milestone anyway. And I think the 3rd one, it's sort of unfair in the face of employees with less seniority. Even though they're in the new program, they vest much, much earlier. And so I don't know why that wouldn't be a completely reasonable thing to do.
Well, let's take a look at that. I think we're talking about 2 separate things. We'll get the person, I'll start working, I'll send you the current version as locked down, the changes I make, and then we can figure out the pension plan. I want to be able to move, we owe it to the town employees to get through this personnel manual, to get through those changes, and to get through the pension plan.
I understand, Nancy, but I just think that, considering what I'm sharing, and you don't, all I'm asking you to do is think about it for now, but that is one of those stumbling blocks, and it seems like we're stumbling over it because of where it sits, whereas we could handle it outside of this, put it to bed, and then I think the rest of it just becomes more cleanup than anything.
Oh, good, all
All
right.
right?
In terms of PFAS, as part of the investigation to identify the source, NSAFE has begun investigation wells this week, so you'll see there's a box truck out there. They've been drilling these testing holes. The other thing so that's ongoing, so that's part of DPH and DEP's investigation to find ground zero here. EPA and DPH have also reduced the action levels for 4 PFAS compounds that came out a few weeks ago, which likely will lead to additional filtration systems for residential wells. I did learn that the Killingworth Cafe was approved for a DPH installed filtration system. So that's positive news. That allows that inn to move forward. Jay Berardino was very much interested in making sure he could move forward, making that a viable inn. And our DWSRF application remains pending, but I did find out if we qualify, it's not a loan, it's a forgivable loan. So essentially it's a grant with strings attached that make sure that we follow certain guidelines.
Right.
So I'm still hoping that we will qualify for this and we will move forward. So I hope to have more information soon. Deer Lake, I spoke with Ted Langevin. Pathfinders continues to negotiate with the Yankee Council. The lawsuit regarding the Richard English Bird Sanctuary has to be reconciled before a contract can be completed. So that's a work in progress. Youth and Family Services. Annie Stern and I, together with Haddam, Bob McGarry, and I can't remember that gentleman's name from
Santafanti?
Joe Santafanti. Met with the Youth and Family Services Board on Thursday. They are an agency in turmoil. No 2 ways to describe it other than that. They have no executive director, no clinicians, and their prevention coordinator, Ben Eves, just left to go to Clinton. So they did indicate to us that they do need to hire an executive director before they can hire a new prevention coordinator, and they are currently interviewing. They're also proposing initiating a strategic planning process with the towns as well as RSD 17. Pram Ethel, who worked on RSD 17's planning efforts, has agreed to play a role in this process, but it's pretty disconcerting, and it's something that we're continuing to move forward, which is why I said I didn't want to distribute any prevention funds until they've got feet underneath them, because right now they don't. And lastly, approval of town meeting minutes. Town meeting minutes, just think that one through. I did receive an inquiry from a resident regarding approval of town meeting minutes. While boards and commissions have set members who attend meetings and are qualified to approve minutes, in the case of a town meeting, electors of the town may be at one meeting and not another. I had Dawn research town meeting minute approval. She sent an email out to all towns in Middlesex County. Not one indicated they approved town meeting minutes. Further, the town clerk from Durham canvassed the state to learn town meeting minutes are not approved by any town in the state. A response from Old Saybrook indicated their town council ruled that could not be done. Now, I'm not taking it any further, but I'm just making it known that when we go to town meeting, Dawn takes those minutes go off to the Secretary of the State without ever being approved. I don't want to spend money on town council just yet, but I'm just making a point that we did have an inquiry. And when I have an inquiry, I try to make sure we follow it up. So, with that, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, this meeting is adjourned, 7:48.